everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. What you're going to be watching today is more than likely going to be the last review video of Retrotember. Time of recording, I believe this video will be going up on Thursday, which means on Friday we will have a video for the Target Fall Geek Out for Friday's releases. In addition, we'll be talking about a few other things as well. And there will be a Friday night game night video, but this will be the last review video for the month. And then next week we start up with Bricktober. So what we are taking a look at today is, we started with Conan, we're ending with Conan. This is SUPER7 Deluxe Conan action figure. This is one of the first of their deluxe figures that they're basically, as far as I know, they're basically the Ultimates, but with much, much less as far as accessories go. Like, there's no additional hands, there's no multiple head sculpts, there's no little minutia accessories. Like, it looks like this is basically Conan and the Atlantean sword, and that's it. And I'm fine with that, to be completely honest. This is one of the first deluxe figures that have been released. There are a lot that came out recently on pre-order. Most notably would be the Thundercats from the aforementioned Fall Geek Out from a few weeks ago, but this was the one that I could get my hands on now, and I really wanted to take a look at it, see what was going on, and I kinda wanted a Conan figure in the 7-inch scale to match up with some of my NECA D&D figures, the D&D figures that SUPER7 has coming out. I mean, I'm sure you've picked up that I kinda dig Conan. So this is what the deluxe packaging looks like. A very far cry from their Ultimates packaging, which, as a matter of fact, right here I have Spirit Valeria, that we can take a look at the difference in the packaging. This is a window box. This is a blister card. This is resealable, reusable. This, once you open it, it's pretty much opened. This is collector friendly. This is just, hey, here's a figure. So that's the biggest differences in the packaging. And you can see that it does have the Conan the Barbarian logo across the top, whereas on our Ultimates figure, it's down here. A sort of cartooned version of the Atlantean sword, Conan Deluxe action figure. This doesn't say Ultimates on it anywhere. They also don't have the slipcover anymore. I get why they don't do that, but I kind of miss it. They do have something in common, that if you look in the background, there is the flame of the forge behind both of them. On the back of the Ultimates figure, we just have a little write-up on Valeria and the iconography of her helmet, but on the back here, we have the original poster, the image from the original movie poster from, I think it was 1982, when this movie came out. This is the, I keep forgetting his name. I had this problem in the last video. I think it's Casaro, I think is what it is, who is the artist that designed this print. And this is fantastic. This actually makes me think that I'm going to keep this card back once I open it up, and just sort of like have this somewhere, like hanging, maybe mounted it, put it on the shelf like behind the figures whenever I put them up. I don't know, but that's really cool. Kind of wish this was an unpunched card, but once again, this is just the deluxe version. This is not meant to be like a collector's piece, I don't think. Now, when they were talking about these on Instagram, they answered a few questions about the purpose of the deluxe figures, and one of the things that they said is that it's meant to give people who are late to the line a chance to get older figures that aren't in production anymore. And I'm all about that, because if you watch the video I did, the last video I did with the 5.5 scale Conan figures, card and link right there, that was one of the things that I said was keeping me away from collecting the Conan line, was that I missed out on Rexor and Thorgrim. So maybe there will be deluxe versions of Rexor and Thorgrim with this. I don't know. This is pretty much available for pre-order everywhere. Entertainment Earth, Big Bad, Amazon, places like that. You can get it from SUPER7's website as well. At least the last time I checked, you can get it from SUPER7's website. So without further ado, let's just rip this open. Let's get our hands on the figure. Oh, and one other thing, keep in mind, I don't have this in the Ultimates, so I'm not going to be able to do a comparing to the Ultimates figure, the Ultimates version of this. I won't know if there's anything different, so I'm just going to be reviewing this basically on the figure as is. Now, let's rip this package open and take a look at SUPER7 Conan the Barbarian Conan Deluxe action figure. And if you want one of your own, you can get him at Entertainment Earth. Entertainment Earth is your one-stop shop for all toys, clothing, collectibles, and more. Get the newest from Hasbro, Mattel, Bandai, and SUPER7, as well as exclusives that can't be found anywhere else. With over 25 years in the business, Entertainment Earth has what you want. Click the link in the description below. Okay, here he is, Conan, out of his packaging, and putting the tape measure to him, we can see that he's roughly 6 7/8 to the top of his head, which I have to admit kind of surprises me because I thought the Ultimates figures were based off of like a 7-inch scale. And if that was the case, I feel like Conan should be taller than 7 inches. Now, the first thing I want to address with this is the face sculpt. Yes, the face sculpt is not great. I actually think the face sculpt on the 5.5 figures that we looked at earlier this week is better of a Arnold likeness than this is. Also, his face is a different shade than the rest of his body. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but there's definitely like a darker tone to just his face than the rest of the skin tones of this figure. So this right here is probably my biggest disappointment, is just the face sculpt in general. And then they have the hair coming out in this perpetual windblown state. Now, we talked about this when we were looking at the 5.5 figure, that this look for Conan, no shirt, bracelets, the pants, the boots, this is basically after he comes back from the dead and he's practicing with his sword, he's getting back into fighting condition, and the wind is blowing across the desert and it's blowing his hair. So I get that. This is a moment in time, and this may have been like one of the face sculpts for the Ultimates figures, but I feel like if we're only going to get one face sculpt per figure, a more neutral one would have been the better option to go with. Like I said, I don't collect the Conan Ultimates. I don't know if there was another face sculpt that went along with this version of Conan or not, but this hair right here also weighs the head down a little bit. You can see it's a little loose on the ball joint, and the hair does make it want to tilt back on its own. So basically, the whole headpiece is a bit of a disappointment to me. I do like the reflection of the eyes. The eyes are very bright. They're very intense. They're looking forward. I like that. I think the sculpt could be better. I think the hair design could be better. Because for a comparison, and it's way early to be doing this, but let's take a look at the 5.5 figure. Once again, like I said in that video, that's not a perfect Arnold likeness. Right there, I think it's really striking. Right there, I think you have something, but full front, that's not the best Arnold likeness. But at the same time, like, I don't think there's even a good look at Arnold no matter how you turn this one. I just think this gives you a much better representation of the character, which, I mean, it shouldn't. This should be the better one of the two. So looking at the rest of him, a few things that I really dig about this is I do like the dirty wash that they put on the pants. The pants look weathered, the pants look worn, the pants look old. Down here on the boot, we have some nice fur effects with the leather straps wrapping around the fur, those are helping to keep it on. There's a decent, like, I don't want to say shiny, like it's definitely not shiny, but there's definitely this leather look to his boots and to his feet pieces, his feet right here, that I like that it does give him like this look of wearing leather, and that is reflected again here in the leather bands that go around his wrists, as well as the belt that goes around his waist, and you can see that it buckles here in the back. This piece right here, like when I first saw this and I saw that there was this buckle in the back, I had to double check to make sure this wasn't on backwards, because I feel like this is just like a little full right in here. Like I feel like when it gets down to the waist, maybe this should taper down a little. I don't know. Maybe it's just too shallow in the crotch. I'm not sure. There's just something about this piece right here that I'm not... It just seems like a little too bulky to me. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. Almost like, you know, like it's loaded, you know, like, I don't know. He does have his Wheel of Pain necklace right here, which one of the critiques I made of the 5.5 figures was that the Wheel of Pain was silver. This is a darker color. I don't know if it has a metallic look to it. I don't think it does, but to me this looks more accurate, where it was like the Wheel of Pain medallion he was wearing was basically, I really think it was basically just sticks bound together into that wheel that he was pushing as a child. So I like the torso. I like the flesh tones of the torso. I like some of this highlighting they have in here to like make the highs and the lows stand out. I just wish this matched, and I wish it was tighter too. So let's just take a look at the articulation, that even with this hairpiece, he can do a full 360 turn. He can look up, kind of. He can look down fairly well, but sometimes, oh, it's going to make a liar out of me. Sometimes it wants to pop back. I don't like the drastic angle that the neck is on. It just seems jutting a little too far forward for my taste. Oh, also, the Wheel of Pain necklace here, when I got it out of the packaging, it wasn't laying on the chest correctly. So what I did was I popped the head off and I actually just flipped it over, and now it lays closer to his chest. It lays in a more realistic fashion, and I dig that. So his arms will do a full 360 spin. Just like most Super 7 figures, there's no butterfly joint in there. The arms will come up to 90. There is a bicep swivel right there, and I like the bicep swivel. It's hidden fairly well whenever he's in a neutral position. Just looks like Conan's muscles right there. Single jointed elbow. Is it a hinge and swivel? No, no hinge and swivel, just relies on the bicep cut. Does not come up to 90, doesn't hit 90, comes in just under 90. I wish this was trenched a little bit more so that it would come up a little bit higher. I know you're only going to get single jointed elbows with the Ultimates figures, but I would really wish they could come up to at least a 90-degree angle. Okay, ab cut right here, fairly easy to tell that he can crank back real well. I also like that they kept the ab sculpts going so that whenever you do lean him back all the way, it still has like that anatomy look to it. He can come forward very well. In the back, when he comes forward, it's kind of ugly right there. He's a little loose in here, in this area. Like, you can get a decent spot, but I don't know, he's loose right now. He'll hold pose, but I just have this bad feeling that over time, that's going to get even looser and looser. He has a waist twist that he can do a full 360 spin. The legs, the legs stick a little. They'll only come out to there. They will come forward to there, but if you turn it, you can get more of a rise out of it. So you can get it up to 90, but it's going to be turned to the side right there. Going back to there. Now, it does have the hidden hip joint for the swivel, and this is probably one of the best ones that I've seen so far. I really like what they've done here. As a matter of fact, wow, you can twist that around the whole way. Like, if they're going to do a hidden hip swivel, if they're going to do like a hidden thigh cut, basically at this point, I think this is definitely the way to do it. You can get a little bit more play out of it too whenever you move it around. I really dig that. There you go. It can come up a little bit more to the side. Single jointed knees, that mine are sticking a little bit, but they don't come up to 90. There is a swivel right here, but I wish if they were going to do a hinge and swivel, I always say this, I wish it was above the knee instead of below. Because even when it's like this, it doesn't turn very well because the joint, the sculpt of the joint right here is kind of stopping it. Now, the ankles do rock back very well. The ankles rock forward very well. And it does have a forward-facing pin for some rocker. One thing that I do want to point out, because I know this has been an issue before, is that even though I said that the waist joint was a little loose and I'm worried about how that's going to affect things going into the future, the leg joints are very stiff. And when I was playing around with him before I started recording, I haven't had any problems with Conan holding any standing poses. I know Super7's leg joints, that's been an issue for some of their Ultimates figures in the recent past, but I feel like with this version of Conan, and I don't know what the Ultimate figure was like, but with this deluxe version of Conan, I don't have any problems with him standing and holding position. He only comes with the hands that he had in the package, and one is an open hand and one is a gripping hand for his sword. The hands do swivel, I think I forgot to mention this, and they both hinge in and out. That goes for the weapon-wielding hand as well. It hinges in and out. I wish this one was different, like with the swivel and the hinge up and down. Just like the 5.5 figures, the only accessory that Conan comes with is his Atlantean sword, and this, just like the other ones, I think this looks really good. It gets a little thin in the plastic up here at the top, so thin in fact that whenever you hold it up to the light, sometimes you can even see the shadow of my finger moving behind it, that the tip is a little translucent because of how thin the plastic gets. It does bend instead of break, but mine is not horribly bent out of shape, and let's straighten that out a little so that I don't bend it out of shape. I do like the coloring of it, that we have this great gray silver for the blade. We have some coloring coming in here. This should still be colored. Oh, and it looks like it is a little bit. Okay, my bad. I thought that was just gray, but it is like sort of like a burnished gunmetal to go along with the cross piece right here. We have some coloring for the wrap, and then the pommel of the sword right here. I love the Atlantean sword. I think this is one of the best swords that they've come up with in fantasy, bar none. Like, this ranks right up there with like Luke's lightsaber and Excalibur, and then there's the Atlantean sword. I mean, come on, look at this thing. I'm actually surprised I don't have an Atlantean sword of my own at this point in my life. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I wanted to get this figure is because I wanted an Atlantean sword for my fantasy collection. The only issue I have with this is it's pretty big. The Atlantean sword was a hand and a half sword in the movie. This is 100% set up to be like a two-handed sword. This thing is huge. I don't mind that though. I don't hate that because it does give us a decent looking sword. It gives us some great detail. Once again, you can see the runes etched in there in the middle. I really think they did a great job on this one. Now, there is one little hang up with this, and it comes more from the figure than from the sword. His gripping hand right here, the fingers are very stiff. They're very static. Like, if you're not careful prying them open, when I first got it out and I put the sword in his hand, I felt like I was going to break it because of how stiff the fingers are. You kind of have to gently work it into the grip. And maybe over time that will start to loosen to get the weapon, there we go, to get the weapon into his hand. Because then the other issue is that, like, for as tight as the fingers are, it's a very loose hold he has on it. I mean, he's not going to drop it. There's no worry about that. But, like, you see how it, like, twists and bends easily. Whoop. And just look at how freaking huge the thing is. Like, I know it was big, but it wasn't this big. But it does look good, so I don't know. It's a trade-off. It looks great, but that's not the correct scale. And now for size comparison, here he is beside two Super7 Ultimates figures, the SDCC 2023 exclusive, the Comic Bat, and the Conan the Barbarian Ultimates Valeria Spirit. So he scales up well with Valeria. When I first got Valeria, I was worried she was going to be much shorter than everybody else in the line. Being a female figure, I assumed they had sort of like downsized her. But she matches up real well with Conan. Conan versus the Bat, however, this is more what I was expecting, this size. I thought all Ultimates were built at the 7-inch scale. The Bat, with this metal mohawk he has going on, stands at roughly 7.5 inches tall, pretty much a full half-inch taller than Conan here. Now, not collecting Ultimates, this is as close to having an Ultimates collection as I've gotten. Let me know. Like, what's up with the scaling of the Ultimates figures? If you collect them, let me know. Like, are they supposed to be at the 7-inch scale? Does it vary from line to line? Like, I really thought this was the standard size of the figures. And lining him up with another Ultimates figure, and I hope you can see her, the translucent in white against the white background, I have my this year's San Diego Comic-Con D&D exclusive, the translucent Sheila from the D&D cartoon Ultimates line, and she is shorter than Valeria, and so that means she's shorter than Conan. So now I'm curious as to if the D&D line is going to be more to this scale, or if they're going to be taller than Conan. I really hope they're not taller, because I was kind of hoping to fit him in with the SUPER7 D&D figures that are going to be coming out. Here he is beside McFarlane Toys Spawn series Medieval Spawn and the Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt Eridan Brioc Glass. Here he is beside NECA Toys Flash Gordon and Ming the Merciless. Here he is beside Mattel Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Eternia He-Man and Masters of the Universe movie Skeletor. Here he is beside Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Outback and Jinx. Here he is beside NECA Toys Dungeons & Dragons Warduke and Grimsword. Here he is with the two mini versions of himself, the SUPER7 5.5 Conan figures. And finally, here he is beside Airborne and me from the G.I. Joe Steel Corps. Okay, so I have mixed feelings on this figure. On one hand, I'm really glad that I have a Conan figure. I really am. And also, I don't hate the figure. I don't hate the sculpt or the paint apps or anything like that. My biggest issue and my biggest disappointment comes from, honestly, the head sculpt. It's discolored. It doesn't really look good it doesn't look like Arnie. It just doesn't look good. I have the same feelings towards the face sculpt on this figure as I had towards the face sculpt for the Masters of the Universe movie He-Man figure. And we all know how that one went down. I think the coloring is off. I even think that the more I looked at it and the more I played with it, I think it's even a little too small for the rest of the figure's torso. I'm not a big fan of that wind-blown hair either. I don't know if with the discoloring they were trying to go for like that 5 o'clock shadow look, put some shading on it to like give him some scruff, but that doesn't excuse the fact that the skin tone seems to be completely different from the rest of the figure. It reminds me of the early days of the internet when people were just photoshopping faces on bodies and trying to pass it off as themselves, and that didn't look great at all. So I do think that is my biggest complaint, is the face sculpt. Also, the ab joints, like I said, they're a little loose. They hold position now. They're not causing a problem, but I really feel like down the line in the future, that is going to be an issue that they'll loosen up to the point that like his torso will just be flopping back and forth. The legs and the arms are very solid. They will hold pose. They're a little stiff, but they're not too stiff that it feels like I'm going to break them. They're just at that spot that you want for a figure, especially a new figure, knowing that over time things are going to loosen up. Even if the legs and the arms, even when the legs and the arms loosen up, I really feel like I'll still be able to get like posability out of them. Don't feel that good about the abs. Also, going back to the head, not to keep beating the dead horse on that face sculpt and that headpiece, but the ball joint is very loose on that as well. The Atlantean sword is awesome. It's way too big for him. I shouldn't even say it's way too big for him. It's too big to be at the right scale to be movie accurate, but it does look good, and he looks good wielding it. I don't have an issue with the sword. If I have any issue with the one accessory that it comes with, it's that I am worried that that hand grip is a little too tight, and I'm worried that like it's going to be like a 80s G.I. Joe figure where eventually I'm going to pop the thumb off. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Also, just like with the 5.5 figures, I get that these are deluxe figures. These aren't the ultimates, that like they're not going to have near the accessories and kibble that come with them that the Ultimates figures come with. But I really wish they would have had a sheath, a scabbard for the sword. Once again, just something that he could sling over his shoulder or sling across his back so that he had some place to sheath this thing. Also, the more I was playing around with him and the more I was looking at him and the more I was considering like the very few accessories that he comes with, the more I was convinced that Valeria, if they would have had deluxe figures when Valeria was conceived of, Valeria should have been a deluxe figure. All she comes with that's worth anything is her sword. She really only needed 2 sets of hands. She didn't need the other hands. As a matter of fact, you saw she really only comes with 2 extra hands and then 1 hand because she has 3 clenched fists. They could have left all of the extra hands out, just given her an open hand and a weapon wielding hand like Conan here, given her sword, and packaged her as a deluxe figure. To give you an idea of where I'm at with Conan, as much as I'm disappointed in the head sculpt and a little concerned about the abs, that for the going price of $35 for these things, I am kind of hoping that they're going to bring out Rexor and Thorgrim to go along with it. Also, if you do collect the Ultimates figures, please let me in on the secret. What's up with the scale? I really thought these things were supposed to be taller. Don't touch that dial. Before you go, please remember to do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you already are a subscriber, what a legend you are. If you like what we do here and you want to help the channel grow, please consider becoming a member, whether through YouTube memberships or our coffee monthly subscription. Links to that in the description below. Both of them for $1 a month, you can get access to exclusive content, such as our monthly member exclusive video. This month is the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Stinger. So until next time, my friends, play well, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.